In May of 1991, regions in eastern China suffered from massive rainfall that led to severe flooding. Knowing the severity of the devastation, Master Zhen called on her disciples in Taiwan to help those in need, despite opposition from the public. This humanitarian aid from Tzu-Chi to China on behalf of Taiwan not only paved the way for more international aid relief from the organization to other far-reaching countries, but also acted as an olive branch in cross-strait relations with China. In today's Tzu-Chi 50th anniversary series, we take a look back on how 1991 helped Tzu-Chi set the model for further international relief in the future. 1991 was a turbulent year. That year, the Gulf War broke out. Coalition forces, led by the United States, commenced to begin Operation Desert Storm and attacked Baghdad. September of that year, South Africa signed a national peace accord.
Our signatures alone cannot light the path to peace.
Then in December, the Soviet Union broke up.
At the time, in Taiwan, martial law had just been lifted for a few years. Cross-strait relationship was not established at all. The two sides had avoided contact for over 40 years.
Then Secretary General of Straits Exchange Foundation, Chen Changwen, remembers that in 1991, there was still tension between Taiwan and China. However, China then suffered a massive flooding unseen in a century. Massive rainfall began to flood parts of eastern China, and the Yangtze River basin overflowed. With a total of over 280 million people affected, it was the first time China's government massively sought international help. Hearing of the devastation, Master Zhen called on her disciples to look deep within their hearts and help those suffering in China.
这当阵，一粒米是较大过寿米山。咱若会当好讲吼，伊现在当咧枵的时阵，咱若会当把这个物件送去互伊去，这份是开拓了呢台湾甲大陆的一个历史，这等于呢是终日愿啦。
我记得呢，我们启动专款劝募。 这一波波的救济工作，虽然是很辛苦，后援的不断的劝募，而且呢，我说我要为当地无家可归的人呐、建房屋，大家都吓了一跳啊！
其实，在当时上人决定要盖房子。
When the master decided to build houses for them, not just homes, but over 3,000 two-story homes with reinforced concrete and brick, I responded. Typically, in international relief, the norm is to build homes made of metal. The master looked at me sternly and asked, "Would you live in a home like that?" Feeling the intensity of her stare, I took a few steps back and answered, "No, of course not." The master then replied, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you."
In charge of the construction at the time, He Guoqing still vividly recounts the project as if it was yesterday, while Zheng Mingwen, a volunteer for the past 35 years, recounts her canvassing efforts.
This is me. I was canvassing donation for China's flood relief. My daughter was in kindergarten at the time. Every time I returned, my donation box was heavy with the love of the public. One time, a taxi drove by and the driver started yelling at me, saying that Tzu-Chi wasn't helping Taiwan, but stood on China's side. We were taking hard-earned Taiwanese money, giving it to China for them to purchase ammunition to attack Taiwan with.
Despite the oppositions, volunteers stood firm in their belief of doing the right thing and continued to hit the streets to ask the public for a bit of compassion.
Humanitarian aid relief work back then was not as easy as it is now. The relationship between the two sides wasn't as friendly. However, the master said, we need to overcome the obstacles as there was a need. We need to help.
Transforming love into material aid and sending it to China for such a large disaster was not easy. The foundation must first establish some principles such as respect and directness. Relieving the hard-hit zones first, a distribution began in Anhui Province's Quanzhou County. And at the same time, medical outreach, building homes for displaced residents, and Project Hope's rebuilding of schools simultaneously commenced, thus setting the tone and model for which Tzu-Chi's humanitarian aid would eventually be known as.
We began our first international relief in 1991, and in 2015, our relief efforts have reached 91 countries. Our missions were able to spread due to volunteers turning the Saha land into pure land.
Vowing to be Master Zhenyan's legs for the past 25 years is Global Volunteer Coordinator Stefan Huang, who says even today, with China's economics rapidly increasing, the Da'ai village homes built back then are still in perfectly good condition, and those who live there have left behind their days of poverty as well.
The great suffering caused by the eastern flooding in China brought out the best in Tzu-Chi's work. The volunteers love to care for those suffering, and it is really something I have the utmost respect for.
After the flood relief was over, Tzu-Chi Foundation used the remaining donations to establish an international relief fund specifically for future disaster relief efforts. And from that point forward, Tzu-Chi volunteers would spread their wings and travel whatever distance needed to bring hope to the suffering. In 2010, a Jingsi Books and Cafe in Suzhou opened its doors to the public, and it is the only store established by an overseas nonprofit organization in China. This beginning marked a new chapter in Tzu-Chi's history, as the volunteers promised to continue to help those suffering all over the world.